Very good evening and welcome to News Tonight on Rajya Sabha TV, where we bring to you the biggest news stories from India and across the world. I'm Aishwarya Kapoor with you. So let us start with the day's biggest news story. As announced by Prime Minister Narendra Modi on 14th of April, curbs were lifted in places outside containment zones in several states on Monday. All Deputy Secretary level officers in the central government resumed work on Monday after having worked from home since the lockdown began on 25th of March. As per the MHA guidelines, all ministries and departments and offices under their control were directed to function with 100% attendance of Deputy Secretary and levels above that. So what you are seeing on your television screens are visuals from different states of the country where work has resumed as the curbs have been lifted in several states. On the first day of relaxations in restrictions, professionals in Kolkata were seen returning to their workplaces. The West Bengal government has allowed the use of 25% workplace in IT sector and 15% workforce in jute industry. Rotational duties of the Group C support staff and below has also been permitted in all state government offices. In Bhopal, people were seen at wholesale markets after certain curbs were lifted. Limited economic activity has been allowed in Madhya Pradesh. 26 districts in the state have opened partially, where activities related to construction, agriculture, road repairs and labour-related work under Manrega resuming. Karnataka also allowed limited activity in some sectors like construction and IT. Maharashtra, the worst affected COVID-19 state, allowed industries to resume work in 20 of its 36 districts that have very few or no case of coronavirus. Mumbai civic body BMC also allowed relaxation in certain public works like pothole filling on roads and bridges and the work of layering and repair of water supply pipes. While in Bihar, work on close to 40,000 projects was allowed in more than 8,000 of the state's panchayats starting 20th of April. The state government aims to employ over 5 lakh labourers for the pending projects. Kerala had issued an advisory allowing some additional activities in the state to resume, such as public transport in certain pockets, opening of hotels and restaurants in 10 districts, and activities like farming, food processing units, construction, road construction, and traditional sectors like handloom, coir and beedi to work without crowding. However, the Ministry of Home Affairs cited it as a violation of its order and wrote to the state government asking it to rectify the guidelines and ensure strict compliance of lockdown measures. Other states like Haryana, Chhattisgarh and Gujarat allowed limited economic activity, especially in small-scale industries. States like Punjab, Himachal Pradesh, Delhi and Telangana have decided to not allow any exemptions during lockdown except essential services and farming-related activities. Telangana Chief Minister K. Chandrasekhar Rao has announced an extension of the lockdown in the state till 7th of May, 4 days more than the centre's instructions. Meanwhile, on the first day of easing of restrictions, the National Highways Authority of India resumed toll collection on all national highways. Toll collection had been suspended after the 21-day nationwide lockdown was announced on 24th of March. Alright, let's get more updates on the relaxations that have been made during the lockdown. Our colleague Kriti Mishra is now joining us live from the national capital. Kriti, on what basis have some states increased the relaxations while there are several states that have made the lockdowns more stringent? So what are the bases?
Well, Aishwarya, the implementation of the directive to partially lift the lockdown is states' prerogative, and it is now incumbent on the state governments to organize thermal testing units for migrants in order to clear asymptomatic cases before sending them back to work. Now, movement of migrants will, however, be restricted strictly to non-containment zones, with state borders continuing to remain off limits. While some states have given a nod to easing of lockdown measures from today, that is 20th of April, many states have decided not to lift curbs amid a surge in coronavirus cases in the country. Now, for instance, if you talk about Delhi, the Delhi government will not relax the lockdown for at least a week. If you talk about Madhya Pradesh, the Madhya Pradesh government has said that it will provide some relaxations in certain districts of the state from today. In Maharashtra, some industrial activity in the green and the orange COVID-19 zones will resume, but in a very restricted manner. Now, Kerala allowed the opening of restaurants, bus travel for shorter distances in cities, and opening of MSME industries in municipal areas. The centre, however, took strong umbrage to the Kerala government's decision, saying it amounts to dilution of its lockdown guidelines. Over to you, Aishwarya.
Right, Kriti. And we'd also like to know from you how big a part are the economic considerations playing in deciding on the relaxations?
Yes, while certain activities are being permitted in those areas which do not fall within hotspots, clusters or containment zones, due caution has to be exercised to ensure that only genuine exemptions and relaxations are given. Now, to boost the rural economy, the centre has specified that certain economic activities will be permitted in rural areas. Now, allowing industries in rural areas including food processing, mines, packaging material, oil and gas exploration and refineries to resume operations will provide livelihood for workers in India's vast hinterland. Now, plans are also afoot to operationalize big industrial units, industrial estates and industrial complexes, especially where the labourers can be accommodated within the complex. Now, such activities can help trigger economic revival while ensuring that labourers are provided gainful employment. District magistrates and also district collectors are tasked to explore the possibility of providing labourers employment through agriculture as well as Manrega. So here certainly we see a balance between lives and livelihoods that has been the priority of the government.
Thank you so much for all those updates on that story. As announced by the Prime Minister in his address to the nation last week, some relaxations aimed at restarting a few economic activities kicked in from Monday. The operations where relaxations have been allowed include in the fields of agriculture, horticulture, farming and procurement of agricultural products. The Agricultural Ministry issued 17 guidelines to ensure safe farming operations to prevent the spread of COVID-19 in the country during the lockdown period. These include maintaining social distancing and proper sanitization during farming operations. Approval tests on farm machines has been relaxed till 31st of December to ensure uninterrupted supply of agricultural machinery. Validity license of seed dealers has been extended till 30th of September. The guidelines also ask the farmers to keep the agricultural produce for at least 48 hours in the sun before storing. They also emphasize harvesting rabi crops through mechanized harvesters to keep less farm workers on the field. Apart from this, some construction activities and industrial operations in rural areas, Manrega works, government offices at central and state levels, financial sector including the RBI and private vehicles for emergency services are also being allowed to function from now. Services provided by self-employed persons like electricians, IT repairs, plumbers, motor mechanics and carpenters have also been exempted from complete lockdown in areas which are not demarcated as containment zones.
Overcoming the lockdown restrictions, sown area of summer crops has increased significantly, registering 36% increase over the last year, pushed up mainly by rice cultivation. Farming operations in the field, harvesting and sowing, have been exempted from lockdown, but social distancing and social responsibility has to be maintained. Farming machinery, shops, custom hiring centers, services related to fertilizers and seeds, mandi operations for marketing have also been given concessions from lockdown to enable farming to proceed smoothly. At the Kharif conference recently held, 2020, food grain production target has been fixed at an ambitious 298 million tons. To help farmers sustain production, money has been disbursed under the PM Kisan Yojana and the PM Fasal Bima Yojana. Insurance claims have been disbursed. Pulses have been dispatched to states under the PM Garib Kalyan Yojana.
The centre has also issued guidelines for the movement of labourers within a state to facilitate partial resumption of select economic activities, but ruled out any inter-movement of workers during the lockdown till 3rd of May. As a standard operating procedure, states have been told to get registered details of laborers residing in relief camps for skill mapping to find out their suitability for various kinds of works. For migrants wishing to return to work within the state where they are presently located, they would be screened, and those who are asymptomatic would be transported to their respective places of work. The SOP issued by the Home Ministry will apply in districts declared non-containment zones. Let's now take a look at the activities that remain banned or restricted till the 3rd of May. These include movement of passenger traffic, including air, rail and road, that remains suspended. Educational institutions, industrial commercial activities and hospitality services are closed until specifically exempted. Cinema halls, shopping malls are also closed. All religious and cultural gatherings are prohibited. Supply of non-essential goods by e-commerce companies also remain suspended. And the government said on Monday that the number of districts from where no coronavirus cases have been reported in the last 14 days has increased from 47 on Saturday to 59 now. At the media briefing on coronavirus pandemic, the Health Ministry said in Goa, all 7 patients tested negative for the infection. The state has not reported any new case. The ministry also informed that Mahi in Puducherry, Kodagu in Karnataka and Pori Garhwal in Uttarakhand have also not reported any coronavirus case in the last 28 days. The Health Ministry added that the lockdown measures have helped decrease the pace of COVID-19. Meanwhile, the number of COVID-19 cases in the country has increased to 17,265 after 1,553 fresh infections and 36 deaths were reported in the past 24 hours. The death toll has risen to 543, while as many as 2,546 people have recovered from the infection. Maharashtra, Delhi and Gujarat reported the highest number of cases. While Maharashtra reported 4,203 cases, Delhi's tally stood at 2,003. Other states that saw the most number of cases included Gujarat with 1,743 cases, followed by 1,477 cases in Tamil Nadu, 1,478 in Rajasthan and 1,407 cases in Madhya Pradesh. The ministry also informed that G20 countries including India met via video conferencing to discuss ways to fight the virus together.
इंडिया का डबलिंग रेट लॉकडाउन से पहले जो 3.4 था, अब वह इंप्रूव होकर 7.5 हो चुका है। और इससे संबंधित और भी एक अच्छी न्यूज़ ये है कि अगर हम 19 अप्रैल तक का डेटा लें तो इस नेशनल एवरेज के तहत 18 स्टेट्स में नेशनल एवरेज से बेटर परफॉर्मेंस और बेटर इंप्रूवमेंट नोटिस किया गया है, जिसमें कि दिल्ली में डबलिंग रेट 8.5 डेज है, कर्नाटका में 9.2 डेज है, तेलंगाना 9.4 डेज, आंध्र प्रदेश 10.6 डेज, जम्मू कश्मीर 11.5 डेज, पंजाब 13.1 डेज, छत्तीसगढ़ 13.3 डेज, तमिलनाडु 14 डेज और बिहार 16.4 डेज। हमें कुछ और राज्यों से अच्छी खबरें भी आ रही हैं, जैसे गोवा के सभी पेशेंट्स को रिकवरी के बाद हॉस्पिटल से डिस्चार्ज कर दिया गया है। अब गोवा में कोई भी एक्टिव केस नहीं है। इसी तरीके से जैसे कि कल आप लोगों की दृष्टि में लाया था, माही और कोडगू, इन दोनों जिलों में जहां पर कि पिछले 28 दिनों से कोई केस नहीं आया था, उसमें एक और जिला जुड़ गया है, वह है पौड़ी गढ़वाल उत्तराखंड से। साथ ही टोटल 59 डिस्ट्रिक्ट्स हैं 23 स्टेट और यूनियन टेरिटरीज से, जहां पर पिछले 14 दिनों से कोई केस नहीं आया है।
Meanwhile, the Home Ministry has advised states not to dilute the lockdown regulations and instead make them stricter. In a letter to the states, the MHA observed that certain states are allowing activities that have not been permitted under the Home Ministry guidelines. The central government said that the COVID-19 situation is especially serious in Mumbai, Pune, Indore, Jaipur, Kolkata and a few other places in West Bengal. And following this, the government has constituted 6 inter-ministerial central teams which will visit Maharashtra, Madhya Pradesh, Rajasthan and West Bengal to make on-spot assessment of COVID-19 situation.
कुछ राज्यों में उन गतिविधियों को भी इजाज़त दी जा रही थी जिनकी गृह मंत्रालय द्वारा जारी किए गए दिशा निर्देशों के अंतर्गत अनुमति नहीं है। गृह मंत्रालय ने कल पत्र लिखकर केरल सरकार द्वारा जारी संशोधित दिशा निर्देशों पर भी अपनी चिंता व्यक्त की है। कुछ गतिविधियों की अनुमति दी गई है उनके द्वारा जो आपदा प्रबंधन अधिनियम 2005 के तहत गृह मंत्रालय द्वारा जारी आदेशों का उल्लंघन है और लॉकडाउन नियमों को भी क्षीण कर रहा है। उनसे अनुरोध किया गया है कि राष्ट्रीय लॉकडाउन नियमों का अनुपालन सुनिश्चित करें। कुछ जिलों में भी लॉकडाउन नियमों के उल्लंघन के कुछ मामले सामने आए हैं जो स्वास्थ्य के लिए गंभीर खतरा पैदा कर सकते हैं। कुछ जिलों में कोविड-19 के संक्रमण की स्थिति गंभीर है या गंभीर होती जा रही है, जैसे राजस्थान में जयपुर, मध्य प्रदेश में इंदौर, महाराष्ट्र में मुंबई और पुणे, पश्चिम बंगाल में कोलकाता, हावड़ा, 24 परगना नॉर्थ, मेदिनीपुर ईस्ट, दार्जिलिंग, जलपाईगुड़ी और कालिम्पोंग। इन चारों राज्यों के प्रभावित जिलों का ऑन द स्पॉट आंकलन करने के लिए आपदा प्रबंधन अधिनियम 2005 के अंतर्गत गृह मंत्रालय ने 6 इंटर मिनिस्टीरियल सेंट्रल टीमों का गठन किया है।
And the Indian Council of Medical Research said that the daily COVID-19 testing capacity at various laboratories in India is expected to reach 1 lakh tests per day by the end of the next month. Responding to a complaint from the West Bengal government that RT-PCR kits were not working properly, ICMR's Raman R. Gangakherkar said that these tests are US FDA approved and have good standards. The only thing needed is that they should be stored under 20 degrees temperature, otherwise results may not be correct. And as the relaxations on the coronavirus-induced nationwide lockdown came into effect starting on Monday, the Rajya Sabha and the Lok Sabha secretariats have resumed work after they were closed on 24th of March in view of the coronavirus outbreak. The employees of both the Rajya Sabha and Lok Sabha secretariats resumed work today after nearly a month of the countrywide lockdown. Vehicles of all the officials and others were sanitized at the entry point of the Parliament complex. Thermal screening of employees and others were also done. All employees were seen wearing masks and maintaining distance from each other. In a Twitter message, Rajya Sabha Chairman M. Venkaiah Naidu said officials had been asked to transact important business that cannot be deferred while deploying manpower in conformity with the spirit of norms of lockdown. The chairman said that directions had been given to put in place all the necessary safeguards to prevent contracting the virus. This, he said, starting with sanitizing vehicles at the point of entry into Parliament House and screening of body temperatures of the people coming into the complex. The chairman further appealed to everyone to ensure such safeguards at all workplaces in the country, including sites of economic activity, in view of the partial relaxation of lockdown that started on Monday. Lok Sabha Speaker Om Birla also resumed office in the Parliament. An order issued by the Lok Sabha Secretariat said all officers of the Joint Secretary rank and above were joining office from Monday.
संसद की विधिवत कार्यालय शुरू हो चुके हैं। हम लगातार सभी माननीय सदस्यों से संपर्क में हैं और सभी माननीय सदस्य अपने अपने एरिया के अंदर वहाँ की जनता के साथ रहकर सजगता और सतर्कता के साथ इन निर्देशों की स्वयं भी पालन कर रहे हैं और जनता से सरकार के निर्देशों का पालन करने के लिए उनको आग्रह भी कर रहे हैं।
Both Rajya Sabha and Lok Sabha were adjourned sine die shortly after official orders of a nationwide shutdown were given on 23rd of March due to the COVID-19 pandemic outbreak. And on to some other news. Rajya Sabha Secretary General Deep Verma held a meeting with the top officials of the Rajya Sabha Secretariat through video conferencing. At the meeting with the joint secretaries and other senior officials, the Secretary General reviewed the functioning of the Secretariat in the wake of coronavirus pandemic and gave directions. Secretary General Deepak Verma asserted that the Secretariat would also follow the Finance Ministry order to cut down the expenditure due to coronavirus crisis. The Secretary General also discussed the preparations for swearing in and the orientation of the Rajya Sabha MPs who have been elected unopposed.
Government's advisory also for us to cut down on the expenditure. So different finance ministry ने एक circular जारी किया है जिसको हम adopt करेंगे और उसमें डिफरेंट मिनिस्ट्रीज़ के लिए डिपार्टमेंट्स के लिए 20% तक का एक्सपेंडिचर पे कंट्रोल करने का और रिडक्शन करने का एक प्रपोजल बनाने को कहा गया है। तो जॉइंट सेक्रेटरी FA शिखा दरबारी was to make that proposal for this reduction in the budget in consultation with all the joint secretaries, and secretary would compile that and then put up before me so that we can decide that which are the activities which should be taken up during this period and which are the activities which we can defer during this financial year. So please take that on the utmost priority, because the expenditures which have to be deferred, that should be planned right now. Okay?
And Prime Minister Narendra Modi has observed that the coronavirus pandemic has changed the contours of professional life. In a LinkedIn post titled "Life in the Era of COVID-19, Prime Minister Modi says that these days the home has become the new office and the internet is the new meeting room. According to the Prime Minister, most of his meetings with ministers, officials and world leaders are being held via video conferencing. Prime Minister Modi says the world is looking for new business models that are easily adaptable. Calling India a youthful nation known for its innovative zeal, the Prime Minister expressed confidence that India can take the lead in providing a new work culture. Once again, reiterating that the country is united in its fight against COVID-19, the Prime Minister emphasized that the coronavirus does not regard race, religion and caste before striking. He underscored that India, with the right blend of the physical and the virtual, can emerge as the global nerve center of complex modern multinational supply chains in the post-COVID-19 world. In a series of messages on Twitter, Prime Minister Modi praised the contribution of shopkeepers and said that the country will not forget their service to the nation. He said the lockdown is being successfully implemented because of the positive role played by small business owners and shopkeepers who are risking their lives to provide essentials to people. And now the global update. Over 81,000 COVID-19 cases were reported in the last 24 hours globally, taking the overall number of confirmed cases since the start of the pandemic to above 2.4 million. Deaths and infections caused by novel coronavirus continue to climb as the pandemic rages around the globe. A total of 152,707 people died of COVID-19 globally as the number of infection crosses 2.4 million. The United States registered the highest number of both the confirmed cases and deaths from the virus, as the country registered over 7,64,000 confirmed cases and at least 40,600 deaths. The state of New York remained the most severely affected in the US, with more than 1,29,000 positive cases and close to 14,500 confirmed deaths in New York City alone. Spain registered a sharp drop in the daily death toll from coronavirus, with the number falling to 410 from 565 on Sunday. The Health Ministry said that the total fatalities in Spain have reached 20,453. The infections rose to 1,95,344 with 4,218 new cases in the past 24 hours. Italy also saw its daily infections, death toll and severe cases continuously falling. Italy's death toll continued to fall as further 433 people died of COVID-19 in the past 24 hours, raising the country's death toll to 23,660. Meanwhile, South Koreans returned to work on Monday as the country relaxed social distancing rules amid a continued downward trend in the coronavirus cases. South Korea extended its social distancing policy for another 16 days on Sunday, but offered some relief for religious and sports activities previously subjected to strict restrictions. On to some other news. The first tranche of gold bonds issued under the Sovereign Gold Bond Scheme for the financial year 2020-21 opened for subscription on Monday. The scheme will close on 23rd of April. Bonds will be issued on 28th of April. The Reserve Bank of India, in consultation with the government, had announced the issue dates of the scheme for the 2020-21 fiscal recently. The issue price of the gold has been... On to some other news. The first tranche of gold bonds issued under the Sovereign Gold Bond Scheme for the financial year 2020-21 opened for subscription on Monday. The scheme will close on 23rd of April. Bonds will be issued on 28th of April. The Reserve Bank of India, in consultation with the government, had announced the issue dates of the scheme for the 2020-21 fiscal recently. The issue price of the gold has been fixed at 4,639 rupees per gram. Bonds will have a maturity period of 8 years, but investors have the option to exit after the 5th year. Capital gains, if any, at maturity is tax-free. And with that, we wrap up this edition of News Tonight. Thanks for watching. Good night.
Thank you.